Oh, here we're live. We are live on the Kim Angeli Show, and I have one of my favorite people here today with me, Alan Langley, streaming in from Shelby, North Carolina, president and owner of H&H Pest Control, and he and I do life together. We're in Rotary together. And he is probably one of the most generous and grateful people I know. And I just wanted to have him on the show to tell us how gratitude and go-giving helps him in life and business. And so welcome, Alan. Thanks for being on my second show.
Well, thank you, Kim, and Merry Christmas to you and all of our audience that's watching.
And I want Alan, this is a really funny story, but I want Alan to share his Noel button he wears.
Oh,
other way, you can't be a weather woman. There you go.
Yeah,
It's
I can.
With a no.
So everybody, has to guess what that stands for. I've had people say, "Oh, no liberals." I've had them say several other things, and I said, "No, just read it. What does it say?" And it simply says "No L." So I have worn this pen for 25 years. It's a great conversation starter, and so there's no such thing as strangers. Only friends we haven't met yet.
I love it, and everybody knows Alan. Alan is one of the busiest men I know, and he puts more miles in his truck than anyone else I know. He's always going somewhere, and when I visit him in Shelby, we can't go anywhere where Alan is not known. So I'm grateful to know you, friend. So we want to share today how has gratitude really helped you first in your business? Of course, that spans over into your life because you're second generation pest control, 50 years this year. Woo! 50 years. Most businesses don't last more than 5, and you're in the, 5th decade. What an accomplishment. So tell me a little bit about how choosing grateful living, kind of in your business and life, how does it help you?
Well, as you just said, we've been in business for 50 years, and I think that's largely due to our gratitude and appreciation for our customers. We want them to feel that. We want them to understand how grateful we are that they're the reason that we're in business. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't be. And so I think a lot of times people forget who is it that pays their payroll, pays their bills, and all that. And it's just with your tutelage on grateful living, and I have enjoyed that so. But I think I've lived a grateful lifestyle for probably 62 years. That'll tell you how old I am. So, as Kim said, I've been to 45 different countries. Haven't been to Mexico and Canada yet, so I don't count those. Those are easy ones. But I have been grateful for the opportunity that Rotary has offered me in going to most of the countries that I've been to is third world countries. I've been there to put water in, wells, put 30 wells in Ethiopia about 3 years ago.
Wow.
Climbed Kilimanjaro to raise money for polio, and polio's not gone yet in the world. It's still in Pakistan and Afghanistan. That's the only 2 countries we have left. We're 99.9% finished. Now we have eliminated the polio that kills people. So now we're trying to eliminate the polio that is still a crippling. So Rotary has done a great job. And again, I've been to India a few times administering those drops for the polio vaccine. So, but I think that if you live a grateful lifestyle, then you have all of these opportunities that open up to you. I have a problem, as Kim just said, with saying no, because I am busy, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
You navigate that well, and I think, again, we just recently, you and I did a book club for the Cleveland County Chamber of Commerce where we brought people's brought people into the Go-Giver laws, and the first Go-Giver law, thank you, Bob Berg, and John David Mann, is the law of value. And so a lot of people say, oh, well, why would I fly around all these places, or why would I invest in the community? Which you do, you invest in the community, and you're not saying, oh, what's the ROI on that, right? You've kind of like said, the ROI will show up. What was that?
Well, I was looking for the embroidered little plaque I've got that my sister made me years ago, probably 40 years ago. And it says, you haven't lived until you've done something for someone that can never repay you.
Right. I love it.
Where you live should not determine if you live. And so that is what's given me the motivation to go and try to make the world a better place. You know, I can only do what I can do, but I need to do something. And I think that all life is valuable. And so it's just an honor and a privilege to be able to go to Ethiopia, to Africa, to China. You know, those are great places to visit. The people are, you know, unfortunately we hear, well, you know, it's just like anything else. It's like children are like airplanes. You know, you only hear about the ones that crash, and we only hear the bad stuff about China or Ethiopia or Africa, and we start forming our opinions based on the information that we have. But you get there and you meet these people, and they're just a very gracious, loving people that have nothing but will give you everything. So I mean,
and do you find they're grateful too? They're really in gratitude when you get there.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, for just the simplest things, they're grateful. Um, I mean, on one of the trips that I went to India, I was after a day of giving probably 250 vaccines to kids. I was kind of tired, and so our host took us to the only, I don't know that you'd even call it a club, but it was a restaurant, and they were there. And it was so interesting because there was some young people, not just young people, but a big party going on in the next room. And the guy came and he said, hey, are you American? And I said, yes, I am. And he said, oh, please come with me. And it was what we would call a bachelor's party. Now, it wasn't wild and crazy like we've heard of those. It was just a sit down meal and stuff. And I was sitting right beside him. And I asked him the question. I said, now, this looks to me like a place of honor. Why am I sitting here? And he said, well, this is the place that my father would sit. And so I just assumed that his father had passed away. And I said, well, where is your father? And he said, he's sitting right down there. And so I immediately got up and made the father come and take that place. And I told him he was so gracious about inviting me to his party. Now, I knew a couple of the people from working with him that week, but they will put you in such, hospitality is such a big thing there. And they want you to be hospitable. And he wanted to introduce me to all of his friends. And I don't know if it was largely in part because I was so funny the whole week, or that I was just an American. They were just tickled.
Right. Well, you are funny. You are funny, Alan. So tell me in your business, like locally or however, so tell me when gratitude paid off, like because in the Go-Giver world, in gratitude and you were doing things for others that can never repay you. But is there a time where you embraced gratitude and indirectly or directly, you know, it added value to your business, or it helped the business grow? Like, I know you have tons of those, but does this one stick out?
Well, let's talk about Rotary or some of the boards that I'm on. You know, those opportunities of service are so dear to me that it gives me an opportunity to be able to talk to folks, them get to know me, and then they understand how my value system is. And so they want to do business with me. And so it's helped so much with that. And of course, you know, I have Kim kind of coached me through some things. And one of the things that I try not to do is I don't hire any people that don't share my same culture. And so, again, it's all about the customer. Now, I'm not necessarily saying the customer's always right, because all of us that are in business understand that that's a double-edged sword.
Amen. Right.
We'll just not say any more about that, just in case I get in trouble for that. But with so I'm a trustee at the local community college, and so some people call that or think that that is a place of stature, and it brings great value. Again, it gives me an opportunity to speak with people and talk with people and develop those relationships that I wouldn't get an opportunity to do if I sat here in my office or just worked in my office. Networking is so vitally important, especially if you go into it with the right mindset. And
well, so you're sitting in a 50. I want us to stop for a moment and think about just celebrating 50 years in business now. So I'm only 53. So 3 years, I was 3 years old, right? I'm not really good at math, but I'm good at writing. So what the single most thing you think, because you have to think about, so H&H Pest has survived so many recessions, 2001, 2008, COVID. If you had to say a single thing, or maybe what do you think makes your business thrive versus some businesses that don't?
I think it's community involvement and people understanding and knowing that I certainly appreciate you.
Right.
Not only you, Kim, but my customers. And if people always want to feel like that they're being appreciated, and you just got to love on those folks. And so I just think that's vitally important in today's business, when there's such a narrow margin of, there's several companies that do the same business that I do. And so I keep that in mind. And if you pick me, then I'm going to make it a great experience for you. I mean, it just happens that way. I mean, there's not a lot of difference in products that we use or methodologies that we use to get customers, but it's how we treat the customers after the fact that I think makes our business so successful.
Well, and you know the statistic, but the statistic I teach is that 68% of your customers will leave you if they don't feel like you care about them. So those of you that, bring on a client and then ignore them and go chase some strangers, and your retention shows it, I would encourage you to have some stickiness in the customer experience and relationship to make your business more, grateful, have a grateful business, be grateful for your customer. A lot of people ignore their customers, and they don't, like, well, you don't get referrals because they don't even remember you, right? So a lot of people leave a business because they don't feel like, well, if I'm not there, they're not going to miss me. They don't, nobody cares. And they don't even realize it.
Yeah, Kim taught me not to, Christmas cards don't count because they get so many cards during the holidays. And yes, they may appreciate that, but it's a card that I'll send. Hey, just thinking about you today. Just wanted to let you know, thanks for being a great customer. And those are worth 10 times more than a holiday card that you can send. And so,
well, it's the unexpectedness. It's the getting that card in the mailbox in March, and it's the only card in the box with the bills, where my mailbox will be full of Christmas cards and they'll just get lost in the shuffle. And so I tell people, I'm like, how can you be unique in a noisy world, right? Because the world right now is busy and noisy, and everybody's slinging fruit pies and Christmas cards. And so I tell people, your clients should have already been nurtured January through October. right? They should have already felt valued before the ho, ho, ho holiday time comes, right? We should have, I tell people, y'all celebrate gratitude in November, but I'm over here celebrating gratitude in January when y'all are all grumpy because you just got your credit card bill. I said, I'm going to have a gratitude challenge in January when y'all are all like, oh, wow, why did I spend so much money on the holidays? And then you have to pay the bill in January. That's when I want to turn the gratitude train on, is when everybody's default is grumpy.
If you just do like me, Kim, and shop equally all through the year, then you don't have a bigger bill in January. So you kind of get used to it. And it's not a problem.
Oh, my gosh.
One year, my credit card was stolen, and it was such a small amount of charge on it that they spent less than my wife. So I just didn't change anything.
Alan, oh my gosh.
No, she's not the shopper of the family. I am.
No, you are. You certainly are.
I love
it. If I want a shopping buddy, I know who to call. So what is one thing that you think you do uniquely, or you can give away your secret sauce or whatever, but what is the first step anybody listening that owns a business, or just personally, do you think that you might do they might not know about to embrace? Because when I teach, I don't teach, oh, we're going to write down our gratitude list this morning, or maybe dust off our Bible this morning and read some devotionals and then go out and be in traffic and be a jerk. Right. I want people to choose grateful living. So what is it that listeners could do that you think maybe you've made a habit or something to embrace gratitude on a daily basis? Maybe what is something you do to kind of center yourself and choose grateful living in a grumpy world?
So every morning I start with a devotion. As you know that most of the time I will share it with you, and I think about that every morning and pray about it. And once I do, I go through, I don't have a list. So I go through and pick the people that I think it's relevant to. And so I think that you always start the day off great when you have that gratitude to a God that, or the God that blesses us all the time. Most people don't even think about that we're blessed just with the air that we breathe. And so I do a devotion every morning. And then, of course, I may still be that person you talked about driving. Because, I'm kind of heavy footed. Those people in the left lane.
No joke. Yeah, I've been behind you. Not long.
I was going to say.
I couldn't see you. Any hashtag highway patrolman out there, don't come find Alan.
Ooh, that's right. Don't give my tag number to start with. But it's and and so it kind of it oozes through during the day. When we answer the phone, I've told everybody here at the office, hey, make it a great experience. I don't know where your point of contact is. We're talking to business owners. For us, probably 60 to 70% of our first point of contact is a telephone. So I think that we need to make that a positive experience so that they will feel that. And I think that even though it's just a telephone, that they can tell your grateful attitude. I mean, people can tell. You see those people at their faces. I try to go on with a smile on my face as much as possible. And I mean, there's things that surprises. There's things that are not great news, but we're so blessed to be in a nation like America. Whatever your political climate is, I mean, it doesn't have to be the driving force in your life. And so I think that you have to keep that mindset that I'm going to be grateful through thick or thin.
I agree. When I had a staff like you, I did encourage my team who was answering the phone. And I would say this in jest, but I would say, ring, 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 your paycheck's calling. Because, a lot of people, and I taught this the other day, I did a little how to double your business in 1 year, kind of at a networking event I do with Barry Steiger, who in Rotary. And I said, a lot of you have a customer call and you're like, oh my God, what do they want? And I said, you're taking that energy that, oh my God, my phone's ringing. What do they want? And you're actually starting the conversation with negative energy. And so if you could be grateful your phone's ringing, because mine has been ringing for 30 years. I tell people, if you have a seasonal mindset, you'll have a seasonal business. I mean, Alan, is your business always busy? Yes. Why? Because you answer your phone like, oh, thanks for calling. And so, if I want somebody, if I was on a show, here's how this works. If I was on a show and somebody said you get one phone call and they need to answer, do you know the person I would call? Alan Langley. And I would be winner, winner, chicken dinner. And so somebody asked me the other day, Kim, what's your best app on your phone? And I said, the phone, because I answer it. I talk to people. I text. And so it's the how are you caring about someone beyond the transaction? How are you making them feel? How are you leaving their life better than it was? And you did this very well, just naturally. And you probably watched your father do it, or your parent, or someone that mentored you. But it is definitely shows through in leadership in the culture, because if I get Randy on the phone, it's the same way. I get a response. And a response is respectful. And so that is what I think makes your business so sustainable, is that they feel like you care about them and you're not just another number. And so that is what I think makes your business so unique in a non 1-800 I don't care, business. I've called many a company and not even get an answer back. So you do that well. So I just say, people want to hear your voice and they want to hear that you care, and you do that well.
So recently, as another example, what you were talking about, when we had luckily, we were not hit as bad as Asheville and some of the other areas that are really struggling right now. But we had a lot of trees down. We were without power 6 days. And so there were very few restaurants that were open. And this restaurant person, I was in his establishment. Now, this wasn't somebody that works for him. You could kind of understand it more. But he was complaining so much about how busy he was that he sold out the day before. And he hoped he had enough food today. And I thought, what are you
Wow.
busy for? What are you not in business to make money and to serve your customers? And I thought, and his place was packed. There's probably 25 people hearing him rant and rave about how busy. And I haven't been back since. I thought, well, if you're that busy, then you just go on.
Well, you're like me. I am grateful, and I will even pray for clients. I pray for their prosperity. I pray for their provision, and I want them to have success. I'm cheering them on. And so there's not a phone call from a customer or someone in my network that I don't enjoy answering, because when people leave this earth, the first thing we miss, friend, is the voice. And what people don't realize is, in this technology world that we live in, through email and text, we have lost the inflection and the connectivity of the voice to build a relationship.
I agree. Kim speaks from experience. She lost her mom, a couple of months ago. And so I'm sure here at the holidays, it's even worse.
Right.
Just to not to be able to hear your mom's voice calling her. And
right. And you've lost your father, and I've lost my dad, and it's just different. But the first thing we miss is the voice. And when I do make those gratitude calls, which I talk to you a lot, or if I call a client that I haven't heard from, they're like, oh my gosh, it's so good to hear your voice. You ever call someone and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so good to hear your voice? It's because in texting, yes, it's a great mode of communication. I love texting. But I also love picking up the phone and hearing Alan Langley's voice. So, and basically, that is what we're missing. That's where, yes, you can embrace AI to a level that helps you delegate things that aren't that are transactional. But what we do, Alan, building relationships and caring about others will never go away. It'll never go away.
My job is to solve problems, to solve people's problems. So people that call here normally have a problem. And so if we can solve that and take care of it, then we're way ahead of the game. And
Right.
and people have, people will always have unrealistic expectations. But if you will let those folks know that going into it, they know what to expect. And we still will have people call back and they don't understand something, and we're glad to explain it again. And then 95% of those folks are just they're fine. And again, but that's our whole mindset, is to solve the problem of the customer that calls. And if you have that mindset, then you're grateful that they have called you and had this conversation and given you the opportunity. I don't mind customers calling and complaining, because they're giving us an opportunity to fix the problem. It's those that just leave and change, that you can't do anything with. So I don't mind people calling and complaining, because again, it's just another opportunity for us to be able to take care of their concerns.
I love it. And a statistic to go with that, Alan didn't even know I have one. Only 4% of people will make the call that they had they had a complaint. 96% of them go somewhere else.
Wow.
So why do we thank the people that call? Because we, again, like you just said, we have the opportunity to solve the problem and even maybe learn how to be a better business from what they tell us. So, well, it has been a pleasure having you on, friend. Big hugs from Charlotte. And I'll be making my way towards you and Shelby after I have my little hernia surgery Friday. Oh, what fun. But
ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
That's right. And if you ever want to hear great Christmas music, Alan does sing as well at his local church.
Wow.
That was quite a treat. I think that was last year, maybe 2 years ago. Who knows?
I think it's 2 years ago, but I just, again, thank you so much. Call anytime. I'll treat you better than family.
I know. Well, I appreciate you, Alan. And thanks for everybody that's joining. And please feel free to feel welcome to reach out to Alan or myself if you have any questions. Bye-bye.
Take care.